Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here with you all. So I thought I might start tonight with our inquiry questions. And I'd like just to offer a little bit of guidance on, say the art of contemplation or the art of inquiry. And so oftentimes inquiry is done with a partner, where one partner asks the question and just silently listens, witnesses what's here. It's a beautiful space to hold when you have a partner to do this with, but especially during these times of the pandemic, we don't always have a partner. We're not always supposed to meet up in groups. So one of the ways we can cheat it is if we have an iPhone or any smartphone, if you just kind of flip through your apps, oftentimes there's a voice recorder. On the iPhone, I think it's called voice memos. And so you could start by just reading the questions aloud and recording that. And you might, read them aloud. And so say there's just one question, you read it aloud, and then you wait 30 seconds, and then you read it again, and you wait 30 seconds, and you read it again. And if there's multiple questions, you space it out a little bit. And you might just do this, for yourself, is just to record the questions, for say a 10-minute period. And then you sit quietly and you press play. And so it's your voice asking the questions that was recorded. And then you respond from your heart. And there's something powerful when you hear the question being asked of you. And so tonight's question is, do you see the beauty of this world? Do you see the beauty of this world? And then just to feel inside. Your response may be no. I look inside, I see anger. When I look outside, I see political division or whatever it is. And that's okay. So you just hear what's there. So the next question is, well, what veils your experience? What veils it? I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm hurt, I'm struggling, I'm stressed. So do you see the beauty of this world? Yes, I do. I do see the beauty. Well, what veils it? Nothing. And then you can smile. So in theory, we keep asking the question until our answers flip. So we get a yes in the beginning and a no at the end. But of course, with the practice of inquiry, I'm going to encourage you just to be non-judgmental and just allow whatever wants to come to come. Do you see the beauty of this world? Can you notice the radiance, the spaciousness? Quiet, alive energy, just vibrating from all objects, vibrating from space itself. Do you see the beauty of this world? No, I'm in Southern California and I see a big forest fire. So what veils it? I'm irritated, I'm upset, I'm angry. And so we're honest about this. So with inquiry, the idea is for you to ask your heart. Ask your heart if you can see the beauty. Questions are always asked to the heart, to the depth of what you are. But oftentimes in the beginning, we may find that our surface level nature, our egoic nature may respond. Our low blood sugar or irritability, our frustration with life. You know, if you're watching Tucker Carlson speak or Don Lemon speak, you might not be seeing the beauty of the world. You may just be seeing tragedy. And sometimes when we ask the question, we just realize, oh, I'm watching too much news. Sometimes when we ask this question, we realize we've spent too much time just spacing out on social media or whatever it is. Lost in thought, lost in fantasy. So this week on Wednesday, my climbing partner, he sent me a text and he said, "Hey Craig, we are out in the desert. Could you bring us, some supplies?" I thought, oh yeah, this is this is wonderful. I'll be happy to go out to the desert, and it's just a good excuse for me to leave the house and go out and spend some time in nature. Do a couple climbs in there. And so when I got out of the house, the first thing I noticed is, oh my gosh, there's so much smoke in the air. And it wasn't from Colorado fires, it was from the California fires. I assume it's the Bobcat fire down in around the LA area. And normally when it's smoky out, it's not a good time to be spending outside camping and doing this and that. But the desert called to me and I said, well, let's just go and see. So I packed up my van and started to drive, from the top of the mountain where I live, down into the desert. And there was just vast smoke on the horizon. But despite the smoke, in my opinion, about the smoke and global warming and how tragic it all is, I allowed my consciousness to open deeper and more fully. And I began to experience this immense beauty and wonder. So my thoughts started off in the realm of doubt. Is this a good idea? Maybe it's a bad time to go. Maybe the guys have already come back home. I said, no, I'm just going to go and see. Just going to go and see. As I got closer, the smoke became a little thicker. Some of the mountains were just, covered over in smoke. But as soon as I started to descend, into the Indian Creek Valley, I just felt my heart open up in such a huge way and began to see beauty everywhere. Saw my friends, they all lit up to see me, that I was able to make it out. And I just stayed with my direct experience. And my body was a little agitated by the smoke. The next day I woke up and much of it was blown away. So I had a wonderful weekend. Just seeing all these dancing colors of red and purple and tan and browns, oranges, just dancing off these desert rocks. And so it's a great question. Do I see the beauty of this world? If I'm deeply locked in pain, if we have the coronavirus blues, and I don't mean because you have the virus, but just because, having to wear the mask and, all the shutdown stuff and the rules and, everyone's on edge, or if you have the US election blues or whatever it is, sometimes it's good to have a little retreat and get outside. Just unhook from it all. As we were sitting around the campfire, someone told me that, Ruth Bader Ginsburg had died, and how this was a tragedy, how Trump's going to do this and Trump's going to do that, and the Republicans are going to take over, and it's like, and so the guy had a little rant, but then he said, but you know what? I'm just going to live my life. Live my life in my truth, in my experience. And that's why we go to the desert, to connect deeply with the direct experience of this moment. The beautiful thing about where I climb is it's a cell dead zone, so there's no signal. And I just feel all responsibility fall away. No one can get a hold of me. Even if there's an emergency, they'd have to come out and find me. So can you see the beauty of this world? And if not, what veils your consciousness? What's veiling you? With or without Ruth Bader, with or without Donald Trump, with or without Joe Biden, with or without, wherever you lean, can you see the beauty of this world? And in order to do this, oftentimes we have to allow awareness to drop into the heart. I can remember when I was about 20 years old, I was sitting with my teacher, and he was guiding me in meditation, and he said, Craig, bring your awareness down to your heart. Now imagine you have eyes on your heart, and you can look out at life through these eyes in your heart. And you'll notice if you allow yourself to do this, your perspective radically changes. In the mind, we have a superego, a critic, a lawyer, a judge, a blamer, all these types of things. We have the one who's just looking for problems. I call that the biological mind, that scans the environment looking for danger. But when you allow awareness to descend into the heart, and just imagine eyes looking out from your heart, things start to experientially feel quite different. In your head, you can be doubting all day long, especially if tragedy has occurred in your life. You can find yourself doubting the existence of God, the existence of your own light or divinity. Can lose connection with what you are. But when you come down into the heart, it's very hard to doubt. This last year, there was great tragedy that struck my family. And in my mind, I could come up with doubts. But when I came into my heart, there was no doubt. But there certainly were tears. Tears, of just honest tears, like, gosh, this really hurts. This is very painful to watch this unfold. And so when you come into your heart, you're with your direct experience. When you're in your head, you can think about, you can comment upon whatever it is that's happening or has happened or you think might happen. We can comment on it. But when you come down into the heart, there's no commenting. You may realize that that doubt was a defense against feeling sadness, a defense against feeling hurt or anger. And so can you feel what's here? The world is absolutely beautiful when you look at it with the eyes of the heart. I've even, it's this big mountain above my house, and I drove up there and then, hiked a little further up. So it was way, way back there. And we had a big fire here in Durango a couple of years ago. I drove the 4x4 trail and then went on this hike and just looked at the fire with the big open heart. And it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was stunning. It had just immense majesty and power, radiance. Even though it was wrecking great destruction upon the mountainside. And so we can step into these non-dual states. And it gives us a different experience where we just see what is without the commenting. Without the commenting. The last thing I'll say about the beauty, I love to use examples of things that are really hard. When we can see beauty, when things are really hard and really difficult. And so, I think I've told you all that I tore my intercostal muscle, so I should not be rock climbing, especially with, professional rock climbers. Those are my friends, and so they took me out and they got me on some climbs, and it's always a struggle when I climb with these guys. It's just so beautiful, and yet it's also such a struggle because they're 100 steps ahead of me in the world of climbing, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,000,000. But so we were doing these crack climbs, and boy, was my stomach just hurting every time I went to make another move. It just felt like someone sticking a knife in my gut and turning it. I shouldn't have been up there climbing, but I couldn't resist it. But as I was breathing, and hugging the rocks, just with my body, and just seeing the utter radiance, feeling pain ripping through my body, and yet seeing radiance, seeing beauty, feeling such happiness and joy to be out there, to be having this experience. I've just seen this absolute beauty of these 1,000,000-year-old rocks. The hugeness of the sky. The further you progress on the path, you may find that your experience becomes quite paradoxical. You see beauty and maybe experience physical pain. You feel spaciousness and a sense of love and compassion, and yet maybe have heartache. or great sorrow. When we're purely in our egoic mind, oftentimes we either are having a great experience, a mundane experience, or, a not so great experience. And we tend to fully identify with how we feel emotionally. But as you allow the experience of yourself, of what you are, to grow, then your experience can become more complex, a good complex. So if you're having a bad day, you can also be feeling blissful, even though everything's going wrong. You can still see the spaciousness in which your life is falling apart. And this is one of the things that happens on the path. The more you grow experientially, spiritually, the more diverse and wide of an experience you can have. You can have multi-dimensional experiences. I was walking out just in the desert this morning, opening myself to God, and I felt like I was just moving through dimensions while walking through the desert. It was quite bizarre and illuminating and incredible all at the same time. And so I encourage you, let the experience of yourself be big, be vast. Don't let your ego say, I'm having a bad day, and define that's how you are, fully and completely. Can you have a bad day and also see the peace, the spaciousness, the absolute beauty of life, And so anyways, Richard, are you here? If you are,
hey,
you have a question?
But, Kyle has a question, and Justina did one too in the chat. And since I go all the time, I want to
Okay, no, that's good. I didn't see those. Okay. Kyle, I have a question. Okay, Kyle, you wanna unmute yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Richard, for letting me get on the mic this time.
Thanks for telling me about the chat. I didn't see those. So, yeah. So, Kyle, what's happening? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to see the Sangha as well. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, so this is kind of a shout out to Wednesday night meditations as well. If you haven't given it a try, I suggest trying out Craig's Wednesday night meditations. Last week was very powerful, I think, for many people, myself included. So my question, I guess, is after having such a big experiences like third eye experiences or things like this, what is the power of grounding? Why is it important? And then could you talk about the bottom three chakras and how each one is maybe unique? Because I kind of blend them all together for some reason and don't see the distinctions between those three. So yeah, that's the gist of my question.
Yeah, there was a couple different questions there, Kyle. So the first one was, why is grounding important? Yeah. So I'll say something a little different. So if you're opening the third eye center, if you're starting to open a new center, sometimes it's fun not to ground in any way and just open into it and to fully explore what it is, what's happening. So to just jump into that one center. So if you have to get back to work really quick, then it's important to go get grounded. But one of the great ways of progressing on the spiritual path is if something starts to open up, say by way of grace, or you're meditating a lot and things start to open up, Instead of grounding, can you just jump right into it and see what this world is? See what it's about. One of the greatest ways to learn or to open, to awaken into something, is just to dive into it and to get to know it, to see what's here, see what it can teach you without you manipulating it in any way. In any way. And so I encourage you, if something big opens up, don't ground. Just surrender into it and see what that world is. You know, oftentimes God presents to us a door through which we can walk through, and we can open into a new realm. And in order for you to experience, say, the fruits of that realm, to experience the entirety of that realm, to become one with that realm, you have to give yourself to it with no agenda, like zero agenda. And I'll speak a little bit just because I had so much fun climbing this weekend with my friends. They're all pros and I have zero agenda. So in a sense, they are very much like climbing gods. So I just show up with my gear, and whatever they say, I do. I just go with the flow, fully and completely. I don't resist it. I don't have my idea of what I think I should be doing. I just jump in and go along for the ride. And this is the way we learn the greatest, is when we just jump in and go along for the ride and see what the masters can teach you. See what God can teach you. Now, that's wonderful to do while you're on retreat, when you're with a teacher. The beautiful thing about meditating at night is you can just open to something and then give yourself permission to continue to open throughout the night. Don't pick up anything after the meditation. And what you'll find is that experience of grace, that whatever awoke within you will continue to unfold, continue to unravel, continue to teach you, oftentimes even into the next morning. So I encourage you to play with that. My teacher used to say, after class, we'd show up at his house like at 6:30. Sometimes we wouldn't get out of there till 10:30 or 11. He'd say, no, Craig, or he'd say, hey, everyone, don't go home and waste it. And there'd be, some people would go home and they'd run and get a big bowl of ice cream, or they would just be gossiping on the car ride home, or this was much before there was so much entertaining stuff on the internet, but people might try to watch TV or whatever. But if you just jump into the experience and let it overwhelm you, what I call having its way with you, then a whole new world can open up and actually become a part of your consciousness. Because these experiences that come, say right now or on Wednesday night or whenever, they're not experiences, they're not meant to be experiences that just come and go. They're experiences that are meant for you to open into, to surrender to. And then eventually you begin to notice that, this peace, this hugeness, this love is a very aspect of my consciousness. And so I encourage you, to step into it this way. Now, because I'm a family guy and, I have all kinds of responsibilities and things I have to attend to. If I need to ground, I ground. And sometimes I do it through something as silly as, like eating carrots and potatoes, root vegetables, beets, these types of things, just because everything you eat has a vibration to it. Sometimes I get grounded through say, doing jujitsu or kickboxing, or going on a walk or a hike. A lot of times I get grounded, like after my morning meditation. I just roll on the yoga mat after my meditation, just roll on my spine, get in, what's it called? A happy baby pose, and just roll on my spine, really move my body. Sometimes I'll just kind of slap it a little bit, because oftentimes after I meditate, I just feel like I'm a big ball of just space and light and nothingness, and it's really hard to function. And so I consciously bring awareness down to the bottoms of my feet, to my pelvis, to my spine, and just really connect with the earth. I'll go outside, roll around in the grass a little bit. And so just to help you function, it's important to be grounded. A big part of my teaching is fully human, fully divine. And by that, there's a sense of we're not afraid of this world. We're fully here. We're fully connected to our divinity, but we're also fully connected to our human self. When we're not connected to our human self, if we're not, one of the great dangers is we can develop great shadows, or our shadows can continue. And let me speak about what I mean by that. If you just go into the transcendent all the time, it doesn't necessarily affect your human self very much. So if you're always just meditating on vast, spacious emptiness, as soon as you're done with your meditation, what you'll notice is these neurotic aspects of self come forward again, whether it's fear or judgment or blame or the critic. And then we can develop this dichotomy where we're, I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, but I'll try to see, I'll try to play with it. We live in this way where we're always chasing the transcendent and ignoring our human self. It creates a division within us. And so when we're grounded, we bring these two worlds together, the world of light and the world of form. And we invite the world of form to be included, to be upgraded, to be healed. So that the world of form can be a manifestation of the divinity and a reflection of it. And there's not this huge dichotomy or division between the two. I was very good in the beginning at having an intense dichotomy of my divine self, which I just jumped into fully and ignored the human. And it didn't work out too well for relationships, for parenting, for financial abundance, or having a home, or any of that. I could be borderline homeless for many. I was borderline homeless for many years, and it's just not the best way to live. The other thing is, with this path, a different way of thinking about grounding is just to invite the light, invite the spaciousness, the peace, the bliss to awaken in the body. So you're calling it down into you. So instead of you leaving the body and going up, because when we do that, oftentimes there's no change in the human self. But if you stay put where you are with your feet planted on the earth, and you call forth the light and your true nature to awaken within you as you in the here and now, it begins the integration process, and integration goes much more quickly, becomes a much more inclusive and compassionate path. And so there was a lot there, Kyle, so I hope there was something helpful for you. Let me see. I can say something about the 3 lower centers. I did this video series that was, I thought was quite well done by this lady, Laura, and I think her YouTube name is Soulful Taz. And she interviewed me, and we went through, you know, all 7 chakra centers. So she asked me really good questions, and so it was helpful for me about bringing a lot of these distinctions forward. And so the way I look at all 7 chakra centers is each one has a divine mind, divine manifestation, and it has a mind. It's like an intelligence to it. But it also has a human mind. And so say, for example, the root chakra. The human mind is very much tribal consciousness. It's very much fight or flight consciousness and tribal consciousness and how can I say this so I don't get in trouble with YouTube? Desire mind consciousness. It wants to procreate. You know, it basically has a thought, me against the world. Me against the world. But when you experience it on a divine level, it is, I am the world. I am life. When the root chakra awakens, it's very bizarre is not the right word, but I use bizarre. It's a very bizarre awakening. You realize the very substance of your body is oneness and is one with everything. So when I was standing on top of the mountain and just seeing this raging fire and seeing the beauty of it, I felt that the beauty of that fire and the beauty of me, the fabric of the fire, the heat of the fire, the heat that made this body, this form, that's animating it now, the intelligence of that is one intelligence. It's one thing. If you move up into the second chakra, the second chakra just becomes a little bit more tribal. My nation, my family, my intimate relationships, you know, all that's on a on the egoic level. Sorry, God's just pouring so much light into me, it's hard for me to think. So, and there's more of an embodied sense of egoic I-ness, like I, the human self, against the world. Oftentimes it's the seat of anger, but when you open to it on a divine mind level, you realize it's the seat of power. The seat of power. Just immense power, overwhelming power. Like the power of Kali. But also not even necessarily destructive, the power to create, to build. To manifest things. There's a connection, a great connection with truth there. On a human level, oftentimes it's your finances and your struggle with finances, your struggle to support yourself. These types of things. But on the divine mind level, it's immense power. As you move up into the third chakra, the will becomes a little bit more personal, like your politics, your religion, your fight, like your opinions, I'm right, you're wrong. And again, there can be anger there. And even as I speak about these three, what you'll find is, as you're opening in these realms, sometimes they'll just light up one by one, and they'll be very specific and have a very specific lesson with them. You know, say, for example, like around the experience of a desire and human intimate relationships. You might notice, oh, your second chakra really lighting up there, your first chakra lighting up there, depending on how it lights up. Or family stuff may light up there, and you may really work with that. But as you embrace it, meet it with love, what you'll find is oftentimes letting go happens, forgiveness happens. You know, a sense of strength comes forward. And so the best way is just to investigate them, you know, each. But eventually they do tend to blend all the way together. And part of being a master is being able to be very specific, just focus on one. But also part of being open is everything just tends to blend into one thing. You know, even as I feel into my explanation of all three, there's a sense of me just blending them all together, because that's how I'm experiencing them in this moment. So it's hard for me to make those distinctions right now, because I just feel them as one in this moment. And the big thing with these centers is they're always speaking to us. So all 7 minds they're always communicating to you. We have this tendency to think that all of our thoughts arise from here. But, you know, like a thought of intimacy, where does that arise from? Does it arise from our heart? Or does it arise from, you know, the second chakra, the first chakra? You know, if we have thoughts of dominating someone, you know, showing them how wrong they are on Twitter. How dare you like Donald Trump, or how dare you like Joe Biden, or whatever it is. How dare you not agree with me? When you have a really visceral thought, you'll notice one of your chakras will be really lit up. There'll be a feeling there. And so that's your chakra speaking to you on a human egoic level. And the more you become mindful of this and open to it and directly experience it, normally first you feel it on a human egoic level, but then eventually what you find is those veils are lifted. And by that I mean through you loving whatever it is that's human within you. So you love all the distorted places within you. The veils begin to lift. And then you experience the grace of them, the intelligence of them. They have immense intelligence in each of the chakra centers. And eventually they all blend together and just become one mind, one movement. But being a human being is a very visceral thing. So you'll notice, like if someone attacks your politics in the coming months, you'll feel a clench in your gut or your solar plexus. You might notice an insecurity, a weakness inside, or an outrageous fire that wants to crush them, or whatever it is. And so just to pay attention to what's there. You know, one of the great misfortunes of being human is our thinking mind is so loud that we tend to miss the other 6 minds. You know, the true nature of this mind, ironically, is just vast, spacious, and empty. It's just empty. You know, silent witness. A silent witness. So anyways, thanks, Kyle, for the question. And Kyle, I just now saw your Facebook message to me about when you're out here in Durango. I'm sorry I missed you. I'm so bad with social media. I normally don't check my Facebook messages. Sometimes people message me on Skype too. And I just, I just get so many messages all day long, and a lot of times it's spam. But the only thing I look at is email. And so even my text messages now, I've given up responding to those. One of my friends harassed me yesterday. He said, "Craig, your voicemail's full." And I said, "Yeah, I like it full." I don't want to answer the phone anymore. I just don't even pick the thing up. But it just happens when you have a busy life. But anyways, Kyle, I'm sorry I missed you this summer.
It's all right. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. Durango's real beautiful, and my time's normally so constricted just because I'm just such a busy guy. But I would have loved to have gone on a hike or something, you know.
It would have
So
been incredible.
yeah. So anyways, okay. So here's a question. Was that helpful, Kyle?
Very.
Okay, good. Yeah, good to see you. And I love the artwork and the green glow in your room. It's beautiful. So.
Yeah, my mom painted this actually.
Oh wow, yeah, she's a great artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so here's one from Justina. Hi, Craig. At the end of our last session, you reminded me that I am a divine being and not to get too identified with my human baggage. I was wondering if you could talk more about how to practice remembering yourself as divine, as a divine being when you are in the thick of the darkness. I love it. That is experienced on the healing journey, and how to balance experiencing yourself as pure divine being while also recognizing your humanity, taking responsibility for the healing work you have to do. And so, Justina, I think I responded to most of this earlier, but the last thing you said about taking responsibility for the healing work you have to do. So excuse me. Sorry, I'm a little groggy because of a little bit of that California smoke. My voice is a little raspy here. So in regards to taking responsibility for our healing journey, when you're listening to your human self, and if you see you are in pain, that means your body's talking to you. Oftentimes I like to think of it as if there's a child in the room who's crying out for help, we're not going to be just walking in the opposite direction into the transcendent. So if our body's in pain, I like to think of the body as a child. Let's walk in the direction of the child. Let's walk in her direction and say, oh, my God, there's something here that's hurting, that's struggling. And so to always be listening to what's happening on an absolute sense, but on a human sense. The tantric thing that many people don't know is that pain is a great doorway into the chakra centers. And of course, the chakra centers are doorways to other realms of divinity. So pain is absolutely a doorway. So it's not that we have to ignore the light and then go down and do this dirty work of the healing work. When you open to the light and invite the light into the darkness, into the pain, into the heartache, what you notice is you might have spaciousness at first, but then as you embrace the pain, say for example, if you have a broken heart, and you let the tears roll, then all of a sudden you open into the realm of a very sweet, exquisite, tender compassion. And as you open into that, you may notice that there's peace and compassion and brilliance and radiance in the heart, because the veil of pain has lifted. And so it's through embracing pain that you become more fully divine. You open more fully into your divinity. Ironically, through ignoring pain and chasing the light, you become more egocentric oftentimes. The reason being is because you're just following the fight or flight response. It's just the core definition of ego is fight or flight. It's just, I like this, I don't like that. You know, I'm running, I'm chasing, I'm fearing, I'm avoiding what's here. But if we want to be awake, we include the body. The body is a great doorway. The chakras are great doorways to, 7 different types of awakening. And so I encourage you to play with that, to open to that, and to have faith. It's through love that this light becomes more permanent within yourself. So through the loving of yourself, that's how your awakening becomes more permanent. Through ignoring yourself, that's how your awakening will become more distant. So the more you love yourself, the more quickly you will embody the truth. And most people think it's the opposite. But the more you love yourself, the more you love yourself, the more quickly you will embody and live as the truth. So love's the doorway. And so one of the little things I can say about just about as far as a trick's the wrong word, but a skill. If we become too identified with our human baggage, your body will talk to you and you'll feel stress. So oftentimes you'll feel stress behind the heart. And it's almost like if your heart was, I don't know how to describe this, but just imagine your heart was what you were fully. And then it had 2 hands and it just starts pulling all the muscles to the center. So you feel this gripping in the body. So as soon as you get too attached to your baggage, to your thoughts, everything gets pulled to the center, like the muscles, however you say that word, the myofascial tissue, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, all the tendons and everything will kind of pull toward the center of the spine. And, you'll feel like this. And when you feel like this, you feel like a bag of rocks. And that's your body telling you, hey, you need to breathe, you need to feel, you need to relax, you need to let go. You need to not take your thoughts so seriously. And the only time you should be feeling like this is if you're, hiding in a cave from a mountain lion, you're bracing yourself for impact, like you're about to get hit or whatever. If you're in a real life dangerous situation. But if we're speaking about baggage from the past and you feel the body clenching and pulling all the muscles to the center toward the spine, that's a sign that we are believing thoughts that aren't true. And we need to breathe, feel, open, and let go. And one of the great things a lot of people don't know how to do is how to self-soothe. To self-soothe, to be able to breathe in a way, to hold your heart in a way that you calm the nervous system. When you calm the nervous system, you will begin to feel spacious again. So the more calm the nervous system is, the more spaciousness you will feel and experience. The more tense the nervous system feels, the less light you'll experience. And so the beautiful thing about darkness is darkness helps you to wake up. It helps us all to wake up. It's just how God has designed this world. So anyways, was that helpful, Justina? Yeah, good, good. Let's see here. Richard, did you still have a question?
You know, I always have a question.
You don't have to ask it. It's just if you have a question you want to ask it.
No, that's okay. I will relinquish my question today. I see that Jacob has his hand up and would like to ask a question. I'm sure you've got more on Facebook, so I will just put my hand down.
Okay, yeah, sure. Jacob, what's your question?
Hi, thank you, Richard. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi and thank you. Thank you.
Jacob, where do you live?
I'm in Australia, Melbourne, Australia.
Okay, all right, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's it's nice to join you. I normally like to watch you at night, so I usually watch the recordings, but I thought I'd tune in. Yeah. I wanted to more get your opinion because of maybe my experience, because I feel like I'm maturing a lot into the path, and a lot, I don't feel like I'm, you could say, relating to a lot of the, my old friends and things like that. And it's almost like I'm becoming like older, but it's not age. It's almost like I'm becoming a lot more older, and I'm not wanting to, do strenuous activities, and I'm not looking to like these certain stimulations. I'm not really interested in anymore. And I'm looking to like just sit. And even with like certain information that I would normally read and learn, I'm just like more interested in sitting, and I am accessing a lot of peace, even though I am in the midst of a lot of, chaos and things like that in Melbourne. So just interesting to hear your opinion in regards of what I'm, experiencing, and how like I just don't really want to do much, and it's kind of like I'm saying, it's like I'm getting older, but it's not age.
Jacob, how old are you?
I'm 28.
Yeah.
8 years old.
Yeah, no, it's a very common experience what you're having. I've often been called an old man, trapped in a young man's body. Now I'm not a young man anymore, but even when I was younger, when I started to have the experience you were having, I felt very much just like an old man, like an old hermit, an old monk, who just wanted to sit and basically not do much of anything at all. And so, this happens. You'll lose some friends, because we're not out chasing this thing or that thing anymore. There'll be all kinds of things that fall away. Now, this goes back to Kyle's question. So one of the transitions that happens in the, say, second and third chakra, where it has so much to do about will and about doing, you'll find that will within you that used to chase or want to go after experiences or read books or run after enlightenment or, go conquer or whatever, will just fall away. And while it's falling away, it's a little bit confusing. I used to go to my teacher and I had the same question you had. I just feel like I don't really want to do anything, and I don't care about much anymore. Like, say, whatever, what's happening here, what's happening there, what's going on in the news or this and that. I can remember when my politics very much fell away. I used to be very politically active and, would be one of the people showing up to a protest, doing this kind of thing. And now I can't even imagine that. It just seems like absolutely silly to do that. And so it can be quite disorienting as our will falls away. And what you notice in its place is exactly what you said, is I feel so much more peace here, and a deepening of maturity. And so can you trust this? Can you just fall into this? Normally one of the voices that shouts out from, little remnants of ego is, oh, I'm just going to be a hermit, or I'm just going to do nothing. I'm not going to want to have my career anymore. A lot of people actually will lose their job at this point. But they lose the job if the job is not in alignment with their truth. Again, their truth and their truthful manifestation, which is what the second and third chakras are about, is your true manifestation. So if we're working at, say, for example, where they worked in office space, Inatrode, I think is what it's called, data tech or whatever. If you haven't seen that movie, it just means if you're working at a meaningless office job, you may just find like, I don't even want to go into work. I have no desire to go into work. I have no desire to do anything but be this. And, unless you have 10 kids you're supporting, or, whatever, I welcome you just to let it all fall away. But don't trust the egoic voice which says it's all going to fall away and you'll be left with nothing. What happens is everything will fall away. And you might just notice, like, gosh, there's just nothing here. Like nothing in me. No more fight. No more I'm right and I need to tell someone on Twitter that they're wrong. Or, you find that your feathers don't get so ruffled anymore. And you may rest there for a period of time. But then eventually, you'll find a deeper voice start to arise out of you, which will guide and steer your life, where you're sharing your gift, your truth, with the world. And so I encourage you to listen for that. And for a lot of people, it doesn't come very quickly. It doesn't come quickly. A lot of times God will just kind of leave you in no man's land for a while. And the purpose of that is so you can get fully established in the peace. And you can just deepen and deepen and deepen. Eckhart Tolle said he spent, a couple of years just sitting on a park bench. He was just deepening in the truth. Ramana Maharshi, when he was young, well, hell, between the years of, I think, 14 and 28, he just spent down in this cave. I don't know if cave's the right word, but it's a little building under the earth, whatever you call that in Hindi. But I looked down there at that thing, and he just sat down there basically for years and years and just let it deepen. And finally they made him come out of that, and then he walked up the hill to Skanda Ashram, and he sat at Skanda Ashram, and he just sat there in the peace. He sat there for so long that there's this black mark along the cave wall in Skanda Ashram on top of Mount Arunachala. And so you may find that God calls you to become deeper and quieter. But then eventually, just like with Ramana, God said, okay, now we're going to build an ashram. Now we're going to have a community. Now we're going to serve, the poor. It's one of the great things they do at Ramana Ashram is they feed the sadhus every day. There'll be a 150 or 250 sadhus sitting out front saying, we want some free food. And so, the monks at the ashram feed them. And so you'll find out what your truth is and how it will want to show up. And you may even get a glimpse of that. Like with me, I always knew I was going to be teaching, and I would get a glimpse of it coming forward. But then God would just tell me, just be quiet, a little bit longer, another year or two. And for some people, it can be, this stage of the path can be quite frightening, because at this stage, again, second and third chakra issues, I guess first chakra as well, God took away my ability to work. And so I lost an income. And this great question came forward, well, if I'm doing nothing, all this fear came forward, like this gripping fear. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to live? I'm going to be homeless. And basically, I just had to sit on the edge of being homeless for a number of years until I fully realized life supports life. God supports God. God supports me. God supports you. And that I was being supported, even though financially it wasn't happening. And so that was quite frightening for me. But you deepen in faith through this. You might even walk through the doorway of terror, because the ego's backup plan is, it's always, I'll just work more. I'll make it happen. I'll do, even if it means compromising or selling one's soul or prostituting oneself one way or another through a job we hate. But it's through the doorway of trust, that something great will come. And this builds great faith. Say that again.
Yeah, it's definitely how I feel at the moment. It's like I'm in I know I have a big future, that I'm already kind of feeling like I'm connecting to.
Yeah.
And it's that calling to just sit. And initially I was like, okay, because I normally create a lot of videos and I influence people, and I can get very, I'm very disciplined with taking action and things like that. So it was a big, letting go that, okay, maybe this time I'm being called to just stop. And the mind was like, well, we need to keep doing this and that. And, what about this? And you hear other people's, perspectives of getting a job or things like that. But it's just been that, that calling, and I've just been listening to it.
Yeah.
It's been very, very nice.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things, is to, when the mind has to let go of something that works quite well. Because that really messes with our egoic will, again, second and third chakra. When we have something good that works, that is working, and the truth is telling us, let go of that. Like, well, why would I let go of that? Why would I let go of something good? I'm making all this money, or I have this big following, or whatever it is. And this is where, I'll just use this kind of, old saying, like, this is what separates the boys from the men. It's like, are you willing to listen to the truth, even if it's going to cost you money? Or are you just going to keep doing what egoically works? And so, see, God will challenge our faith in many different ways. And it's an interesting one when we're asked to give up, something that's going quite well. And it just comes back to that question, is, can you listen to the truth within you and let it lead you, let it guide you? Yeah, and see where it takes you. It will always take you to somewhere greater. Not always financially greater, but, you know, oftentimes financially greater, but not always. But again, it's like, which forces are going to lead us? Is the force of truth or the force of, say, finance? You know, is the force of old habit going to lead us? And God only asks us to let go of something just to give us something greater. So, you know, the way one of my teachers used to say it is, it's like paying $1 and getting the universe. You know, so you always get something greater when you surrender. Just oftentimes we have to walk through the doorway of fear. But the beautiful thing about that doorway is it opens into fearlessness. And so we can have peace, that's one thing. But then when you face fear, then you have peace, which is fearless. And that's something quite different, quite more profound than just peace. Because then it's peace that doesn't come and go. So beautiful. Thanks for sharing yourself today, Jacob. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's been nice having you sit with us on Wednesday nights. I guess it's Thursday sometime for you, but it's nice having you. I've really been feeling your presence, so it's good to see you finally.
Thank you. Yeah, your meditations have definitely been resonating, because it's something I needed, more of that letting go, rather than trying to control.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming and saying hi. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. So Barbara, also from Australia, she's saying hi. Hi, Barbara. Here's something from Amy. Craig, can I advance spiritually while on psychiatric meds? Will they hinder my development in some ways? I had a psychotic episode a month or two ago. Yeah, so here's the truth about medication. If anyone takes any medication ever, that medication will hamper your spiritual growth and you'll end up in a world. I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you. Yes, of course. Of course you can. I have a sick mind. Of course you can continue to develop on the spiritual path while on psychiatric meds. Well, on any kind of medication, whether it's high blood pressure medication or, you know, one of my favorite masters from the past, Swami Vivekananda, he had diabetes, and he was just such a force of grace, such a force of love, such a force of strength. And so the question with medication is, do I need to take this? Do I need to take it? And so if you recently had a psychotic episode, and it sounds like meds could be helpful for you. And what I like to look at with medication is just to ask, do I need this? So oftentimes we go to a doctor, and just because of the way the healthcare system is, they tend to overprescribe meds. So they tend to give us too much for too long. And so a good question for you is, how soon can I compassionately get off this medication? How soon? And you don't have to rush with that. And for some people, I meet with them and I, you know, they tell me, well, I've been on, you know, Prozac for the last 8 years, but I do, you know, 6 hours of meditation a day, and I do yoga, and I'm teaching mindfulness. I'm like, why are you taking Why are you still taking this medication? Do you actually need it? Well, I don't know. My doctor's just telling me to keep taking it and just keeps writing me prescriptions for it. So I said, well, let's look at it. Let's see if you still need to take it. Maybe you can wean yourself off of this med. For other people, they need the med. They need it. They need to stay on it for long periods of time. And so this is something you need to feel into in yourself. Don't go into a thought that it's going to hamper your development. A better question is do I need this? And sometimes we just need half the amount. Half the amount. Sometimes we need 3/4 of the amount. And so this is a great question for your doctor. Like, hey doc, is this a heavy dose? Is this a moderate dose? Is this a very minimal dose? And so if you are developing skills, if you're working with a counselor, if you have a daily meditation practice, oftentimes we can decrease our dosage of medication. But sometimes, there's just a lot going on in us mentally, emotionally. And so we need a lot of meds for a long period of time, followed up with counseling. The big thing I don't like is when we're given psych meds with no accompanying prescription for counseling or psychotherapy. So it's important that if you're taking meds to also be getting support. Because again, just with the healthcare system, people tend to get too much stuck on meds and then they just become a crutch or just a Band-Aid. And that will hamper your growth if you're not doing any type of mindfulness or healing work along with it. And that would have been true if you were taking meds or not. It's if you need help and you're not helping yourself. If you need support and you're not getting support, that's what hampers growth. That's what hampers growth. And so I encourage you, Amy, just to look into that, to look into that. Yeah, beautiful. So it sounds like you're doing exactly what I'm saying. So she says she's doing much better. She's doing therapy 4 days a week and taking half the lowest dosage available, actually. Perfect. So then forget about it hampering it. And so just, take it for another 3 months and then check in and see, do I really need this? And then again, the big thing I remind people with psych meds is don't stop taking them cold turkey. Just slowly wean yourself off of them. I've had a lot of people crash and burn when they got off meds too quickly. But the fact that you're laughing shows that you're really with it and awake to the truth here, and you're doing your work. And so I wouldn't struggle with it too much. Okay, so I've got a couple more questions, everyone, and I know it's getting late into the evening, but let's see if I can respond to these fairly quickly. Hi, Craig. Sometimes when I'm experiencing a painful feeling, thought, or emotion, I'm able to step away from it in a way that feels more spacious and less painful. How do I know if I'm opening into awakened consciousness or escaping into disassociation? Please explain the difference. So the more you are, okay, so she's saying she's able to step away from it. So the model I like is, say if we're overwhelmed with pain or confusion, just to take a backward step and to begin to open the door and feel the spaciousness that's here, the freedom that's here, the love that's here. And then from this place of clarity, from this place of true nature, then you just look at your body. So first you step back and away, kind of unhook from pain as your identity into true nature as your identity. And then from true nature, a compassionate true nature, you just look at your body, you look at the pain and ask it, what do you need? Can I embrace this? So the way you know the difference, whether you're disassociating. So if you're disassociating, you step into peace. And when you forget about the peace, when you realize, oh, the pain's still here. But when you step back into the peace and into true nature, and you meet the pain with love, which is the natural response, the pain begins to soften and dissolve. Begins to soften and dissolve. Oftentimes healing happens. So awakened consciousness is a loving consciousness. It's not just spacious, it's also loving. So make sure there's love there. That's the difference. Hi, Craig. We met a long time ago. You're the only person I can think to ask. I feel like I have several options of paths ahead, and I've been pushing hard daily to pick one and to act on it. One of them is very kundalini centric. Is it worth it? I don't know what that means. Is it worth it? Then they go on to write, I've been through hell with a kundalini teacher on all levels for years. Many promises of heaven, not a single one fulfilled. I greatly question if I've been duped. And I've seen this go wrong in so many ways for so many people. I don't want a life like that. Okay, so there's a lot there in that question. But the basic truth with lineage or picking a path is you should follow your heart. Where is your heart calling you? So I don't like it when teachers dangle fruit. Like it sounds like, this person, Chris, is writing here. Many promises of heaven, and not a single one fulfilled. So heaven is your true nature. The quickest way into heaven, or the direct experience of love, of beauty, of freedom, that's what heaven is through listening to your heart. So Chris, you have to listen to your heart. It sounds like you have a struggle going on with your teacher, and there's a feeling of lack of trust. So trust with your teacher should be very simple. Like you should feel like, I feel really good here. I feel at home. I feel safe. I don't want you to feel like your teacher's lying to you. And so either you're really distrusting because it may be a lot of trauma from the past, or your teacher's, trying to sell you enlightenment through the path of kundalini yoga or whatever it is. I don't like these types of sales pitches. And yes, kundalini yoga can be quite dangerous because it's so forceful, it's so pushy, it's so control-based. And so the big thing, Chris, that I'm going to invite you is just to sit back and ask your heart, what do I truly want? What do I want? And can you find a teacher who seemingly has what you want, who you just feel that realization in their presence? So one of the things I wanted greatly was just immense spacious peace. And so my teacher Aja, he had immense spacious peace. And so I sat in his company for long periods of time. The other thing I wanted was great light and love and embodiment, this immense strength and power. My teacher David, he had this. And so I sat in his company for 20 years. And so, I just went, I went in the direction of what I wanted. I went in the direction of what I wanted. So Kundalini yoga oftentimes gets really complicated and messy and bizarre. I like things to be much more simple. Even though my Kundalini woke up and had a wild experience with it, I wasn't going after Kundalini awakening. I was going after peace, a peace that had no end, a love that had no end, and a strength and a fearlessness. depth of power and freedom. I wanted something that was abiding. So I walked in that direction. Okay. Here's another question about mental illness. Hi, Craig. I'm a person who's been diagnosed with schizophrenia recently and have suffered from symptoms for nearly 10 years, undiagnosed. I came across your videos on YouTube and had some questions. Okay, here's the question. I'm truly seeking answers to what I'm experiencing. I'm getting regular medical help and on antipsychotics at the moment, which does help with some of the symptoms. Good. I'm not looking for medical advice, but rather spiritual advice. I'm hoping let's see here. I'm hoping you can connect me to some resources about what's happening within me. Yeah. So a big thing I encourage you to look at are Bonnie Greenwald's books on spiritual awakening. Her books are really quite well, and they tend to investigate this intersection of psychology and spirituality, especially when the awakening has been explosive and confusing. A lot of times people with kundalini tend to have psychotic type of episodes, just really bizarre episodes. They have worlds opening up to them, and they're seeing things and lights and all kinds of feelings and hearing voices, and it can get quite strange. So her books are an excellent resource. Of course, you're welcome to come to this class each week. It's a free resource for you. And then getting some good counseling support from someone you trust. A lot of times if you can just meet with a good spiritual counselor or teacher who has a background in psychology, it can really set some things straight, because people can really spin out in strange and bizarre states for many years. But sometimes just one meeting with a good teacher can help to steer you straight, where you realize, oh, that's what's happening in me. The voices I'm hearing, they're from the astral realm. They're not really, I don't really have schizophrenia. And, then if the teacher could show you how to close some of those doors so you're no longer hearing voices or seeing things. Sometimes we open into the third eye and start having psychotic episodes because we don't know what's going on and we take it too seriously. And sometimes just learning how to meditate and just letting it all flow by is a great resource. So definitely a strong meditation practice, yoga practice helps keep us in our body and keeps us integrated. Bonnie Greenwald's books are quite good. There's also these books by, what's her name? I think it's Judith. I think it might be Orloff. She writes these books about spiritually sensitive people. Sometimes when we're really spiritually sensitive, we just get overwhelmed by everything that's going on in us and around us. And it leads to, say, schizoaffect disorder, or bipolar disorder, or just weird, bizarre intense, bizarre psychological symptoms. And so sometimes we're just ridiculously sensitive, and then we have an overactive mind and a strong internal critic, and we're not schizophrenic. We just have too much going on. We need to get grounded, and we need a little counseling support. And so, Jane, I hope that was helpful for you, in one way or another. And so anyways, let me make sure I got to all the questions. I believe I did my part. Thank you, everyone, for being patient with me tonight. A lot of questions. From my heart to yours, a big thank you to all you offering your generous donations, supporting this broadcast and keeping it free and open to everyone tuning in. So thank you for your generous donations. If you want to make one of those, offer some support for the Sangha, there's just a donation link on my website. The other thing is, I encourage you all to continue to look at these inquiry questions, to sit with them deeply. To sit with this question this week: do you see the beauty of this world? Or are you watching too much news? Do you see the beauty of this world? Or are you lost on YouTube or Instagram? Do you see the beauty of this world? Or are you fighting with someone in the past? Can you open your heart and see what's here? And then once you see it, can you share this light and this beauty with our world? The world needs it. The world needs it. So let us all just close our eyes for a minute. Pray for rain. The west coast of California, Washington, Oregon. God, may you bring lots of weather, lots of rain. The west coast, put these fires out. We end the fires in the United States, in the Amazon forest. We invite this whole planet to cool down, to come into your sweet and gentle peace. May your love and your light, your wisdom triumph. Truly, Lord, use us as conduits for your grace. This is our prayer. Thank you, Lord. We know you hear us. All right. Good night, everyone. So nice to see you all. Thanks, everyone, for speaking up and bringing new questions. Good to meet you all, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.